Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 12 College Basketball Power 40 rankings, and we're here every single Monday doing this video every single week, so make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties if you are new to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload these. But let's go ahead and jump right in, starting out at the bottom, working our way all the way up to number 1. At number 40, honestly, the top 39 feel pretty good for me. This last spot, I went back and forth with a lot of teams. There's really nobody, I feel like, for this 40 spot feels really deserving to be in the rankings. I went ahead and just kept Auburn at 40, moving down 8. They lost to Missouri. I thought about putting Missouri in the spot, but Missouri also lost this week, and Missouri's all the way down at 55 at KenPom. Auburn was the highest ranked KenPom team that I was kind of debating between. It was really them or NC State, who's 12-6. Auburn's 11-7, but Auburn did beat NC State back a while ago, so I don't know. Auburn's played a lot of really good teams. They have one of the hardest schedules. So, yes, they do have 7 losses, but their strength of schedule is the 4th hardest in the country. I don't know. I think, I don't feel great about having them in here at 11-7. That's really not that good, but 33rd in KenPom, top 15 offense, really tough schedule. I feel like it's fine. But just so you know, these top 39 are a good amount ahead of Auburn here at 40. Number 39, I'm going to have Texas A&M staying in the rankings, staying put where they're at. I don't know. The Aggies are kind of a weird team for me. I did not expect Buckyball to do this well, especially in its first year in the SEC, but they did lose Tuesday night to Tennessee in double overtime. That was a big win for Tennessee that they got. And then they went on the road, though, beat Texas. Texas was a team who was picking up a lot of steam. Texas was coming off wins over Alabama on the road and Vanderbilt in dominant fashion. Texas was starting to get a little bit of a tournament resume built for themselves, but Texas A&M went in there on the road in a big rivalry game, won that game. That was pretty impressive to me, so I did not feel the need to drop them, especially, they went on the road to Tennessee, lost by 5 in double overtime. That's really not too bad of a loss, and then obviously went on the road to beat Texas. They split this week. I think splitting 2 road games, especially against 2 pretty solid teams, that's pretty good for you. So Texas A&M going to stay put. I'm going to go ahead and throw George Mason, new to the Power 40. I'm going to throw him in here, up 3 spots. This is the first time they've been ranked all season, but I think deservingly so. They're 18-1, and you look at George Mason, this is a really, really good basketball team. Them and St. Louis both won losses in the A-10, and now you're looking at the A-10. If George Mason and St. Louis both continue to win, I think St. Louis may already be pretty close to having an at-large bid secure. They're in the AP top 25. We'll see where I have it ranked. And then George Mason is only 1 loss as well. They're 71st in KenPom, 78th in offense, 82nd in defense. Very well-rounded team. But they keep winning. I got to reward them. And the A-10 may be looking at a possibility for 3 bids. That would be pretty crazy because if George Mason and St. Louis continue to win and then some other team wins the conference tournament, maybe it's a Dayton, maybe it's a VCU, those teams are looking pretty good. Richmond's looking all right. So there's a lot of potential here in the A-10. We'll see what happens, but George Mason continues to win. I can't wait. Does George Mason play St. Louis? I'm actually not sure. They play St. Louis last game of the year, March 7th. That'll be a great game to tune into. Hopefully these teams continue to win, so that game is as big as it potentially could be. Number 37 is going to be St. Mary's. I actually thought about ranking Santa Clara. Santa Clara's getting up there in wins. They're 16-5, and they picked up a home win against St. Mary's. So that's honestly not a terrible loss for St. Mary's to suffer. If you're gonna lose a game, you would want it to be on the road against either Santa Clara, Gonzaga, maybe San Francisco. Those are kind of the top 4 along with St. Mary's in the West Coast Conference. They do play Gonzaga coming up, not this week, but next week on the road, so that'll be pretty tough. But St. Mary's still 17-3. I'm feeling pretty okay with St. Mary's. I'm not sure what their ceiling really is, but they typically don't ever have a high ceiling in the tournament. But at 17-3, I feel like they gotta be ranked. I feel like St. Mary's every year is always on this page, always somewhere from 26 to 40, and they kind of just never leave, but they never go any higher than that. I don't know. This is just kind of St. Mary's' home, yeah. But 32nd in KenPom, I don't know. This is just kind of what St. Mary's is. They're going to lose probably 2 or 3 conference games. They're going to get in, and they probably won't make it too far. They can win maybe a game, maybe 2 games, but, St. Mary's never really goes far in the tournament. 36 is going to be Miami, staying put where they're at. Unfortunately for their football team, at the time of me recording this, they did literally just lose to Indiana 27-21. It was a great game though, so obviously this isn't a football video. So let's talk about the basketball team. They're 15-3. They just suffered a loss on the road to Clemson by 10. Clemson's a really good team, top 25 team right now on the road. That's really not too bad. They went on the road earlier in the week and beat Notre Dame. I thought that was a pretty impressive win. Miami's 31st in KenPom, top 50 offense, top 40 defense. Pretty solid team all around. They continue to roll in ACC play, and they have a relatively easy schedule. Really, for the rest of the year, they don't have very many tough games. So Miami is in a really good spot to make the tournament right now. Number 35 is going to be UCF. Now, they did lose this week, but it was by 7 points to Arizona. UCF looked pretty competitive in this one. They were only down 3 at halftime, and Arizona never really pulled away. They ended up winning by 7, but they kind of pulled away late at the end, but winning by 7, that's really not that much. So, I think UCF's a pretty good team, 14-3. We'll see what happens Tuesday. They go on the road to play Iowa State. Iowa State's in the middle of a 2-game skid here. Can UCF go on the road, shock the world, make Iowa State drop 3? We'll talk about them, but that would be pretty interesting. Now, UCF ranks 43rd in KenPom, so a little lower than some of these teams, but I don't know, man. 3 losses at this point, midway through January, that's pretty good to me. So I think UCF's doing really good for themselves. So they're going to stay put where they're at. Seton Hall is going to drop down 9. I don't know how good Seton Hall really is, in all honesty. They're 14-4 right now. They just lost 2 games, one at home to UConn. You can, that one's perfectly fine. They lost by 5 to UConn. They were in it till the end. They came back in that game. But then they lose at home to Butler. That was really not a great game to lose. That was a good one for Butler, I guess, keeping their hopes alive. But Butler at 11-7 at this point, probably not a tournament team. Seton Hall has a huge game on the road against St. John's tomorrow. They're currently 9.5-point underdogs. That's pretty rough. Pretty big spread. I'd expect St. John's. They're looking a lot better. I'd expect St. John's to win that game. But if Seton Hall can find a way to get it, that would be good for them. But yeah, Seton Hall ranks 144th in offense in KenPom. That is just not good. Now, defensively, they rank 10th, so that's why they're all the way up at 50 in KenPom. But even 50 in KenPom, that's below most of these teams in the rankings. Pretty much all of them except for George Mason, so and Miami of Ohio. So, Seton Hall, computer numbers-wise, they don't look great, and they kind of got boosted up just because of their good record, I guess. I'm not really sure what was doing it for Seton Hall. I guess it's the NC State win. I don't know if I see it with them. They lost to Villanova. They lost to UConn and Butler. Now I think they're 4-3 in Big East play, and the Big East is just not great this year. So I don't know. I don't really love Seton Hall this season. They just don't look to impress me. Now if they win it on the road against St. John's, then maybe I have to take some of that back. But as of right now, I'm just not fully bought in with them. Number 33 is going to be another Big East team, Villanova. Now, Villanova, Seton Hall was ahead of them last week. Seton Hall was at 25 in my rankings last week. Villanova was at 27. I got Villanova ahead now. Villanova lost at home to St. John's, but they did not go 0-2 this week like Seton Hall did. Seton Hall suffered 2 home losses. Villanova only suffered 1, and Villanova beat Seton Hall late December. Villanova actually has a pretty good resume. I think Villanova, is has a better chance to be an actual pretty good team than Seton Hall. Villanova's all the way up at 27 in KenPom, 25th in offense, 45th in defense. So KenPom-wise, efficiency-wise, they are much better. And I think resume-wise, honestly, too. They've played a lot more tough teams. They played BYU earlier, in November, Michigan, Wisconsin, who they beat in overtime. Obviously, they won on the road against Seton Hall. So I like Villanova's upside a lot more than Seton Hall, but maybe the floor, I guess. I don't even know if I could say the floor is higher for Seton Hall. Their defense will keep them in games. That's kind of what I said when they played UConn. I was thinking, well, their defense might be able to keep them in that game, but ultimately they did still end up losing. But I will say they came back in that one. That was pretty interesting to see. Their defense did play really good against UConn, so maybe I should give Seton Hall a little more credit. Number 32 is going to be SMU, moving down 4. SMU had a pretty hectic week. Starting off on Wednesday, they won on a Boopie Miller half-court buzzer beater over Virginia Tech. That was a huge win for them to get. That would have been a tough loss. They won that game, and then they lose by 4 against Virginia. It was was really an interesting game in that one. Like, I don't know, Virginia was like up for pretty much the whole game. SMU kind of did take the lead at a certain point in the second half, but it felt like for the last like 5-7 minutes of the game, Virginia was just keeping like a 2-point lead, and SMU just couldn't break through. I think they tied it at a few points, but I don't know. Virginia felt in control of that. Like, there was I guess it was anyone's game for a while there in the second half, but it felt like Virginia was just the better. Like, they just kept, like, every time SMU would either get it to 2 points or tie it, Virginia would score, go back up 4, go back up 2, like, and Virginia ends up winning by 4. Big win for Virginia, by the way. But I think SMU is actually a really good team. I love their guard play. Boobie Miller's a great player. They got a top 20 offense, 35th in KenPom right now. I don't know. I think SMU is actually a pretty solid team. 13-5 in the ACC. The ACC has a lot of really good teams this year. So, yeah, you know, they are 2-3 in ACC play, but I'd assume that gets bumped up a little bit. They're a pretty solid team, so I'm not going to drop them too much. Even though they very well could have went 0-2 last week, but they didn't. They found a way to win. Utah State is going to drop down 5. They were getting so much hype from the AP voters. They were ranked 23rd last week in the AP poll. They were at 26 for me. But Utah State did drop a game on the road against Grand Canyon. That does suck. But they're 15-2 still. I still think they're clearly the best team in the Mountain West. This team is still 26th in KenPom, top 25 offense in the league. I stand by it. I still think this is the best Utah State team we've seen in maybe program history. MJ Collins Jr., this guy's averaging almost 20 points a game. Mason Falslev, I believe is how you say his name, almost 17 points a game. They've got great guard play. Two guards averaging almost, one of them averaging 16.7, one of them averaging 19.6. That is pretty good. Pretty good recipe for success. Really good KenPom numbers. I still think Utah State is by far and away the best team in the Mountain West. I really don't think it's close at all. So honestly, I wouldn't panic too much about Utah State losing that game. This is where I'm going to put Miami of Ohio. I know they got ranked in the AP poll, which good for them. I'm glad for them. But these are my rankings, and they're 19-0, so you have to have them ranked somewhere. I move them up 7 because, I mean, look at all these teams going down around them. Like, kind of helped them out. Miami lost a game. UCF lost a game as well. Yes, they're 19-0. They had a crazy game. I don't know if any of you watched that, but against Buffalo on Saturday, they went 105-102 in overtime. They hit a game-tying 3 to send it to overtime, and then they hit a game-winning 3 to end overtime. It was pretty insane. But honestly, with Miami of Ohio, yes, they're undefeated. Like I said, you have to rank them. They're 19-0. Like, they're one of 3 undefeated teams in the country. But in all honesty, man, I mean, if we're being honest, like, they haven't played anyone. I know it's not what you want to hear. I'm sorry. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to keep moving them up. I said this last week. If they keep winning, I got to keep moving them up. But literally, they haven't played anyone. Their strength of schedule is 348th right now. Like, that is bottom, what? Wow, how many teams are in D1? I think it's like 360 something. So that's like bottom 20 in the country. Easiest, like, they got one of the 20 easiest schedules. Like, I just don't know. Tomorrow they play on the road against Kent State. They're only 1.5-point favorites. Maybe that's a game they drop. I don't know. Again, I feel like you have to have them ranked, but they haven't played anyone. I don't know. I'm not fully bought in. I'm excited for them, obviously. Don't get this wrong. I'm happy that they're ranked in the top 25. That's amazing for their program, but I'm just not fully bought in yet. Tennessee, man. Speaking of not fully bought in, yes, they did get a really good win home against Texas A&M on Tuesday. That was a great win. They win in double overtime, but they lose on the buzzer beater to Kentucky. Like, I just don't know. Like, I really don't know if Tennessee's all that good. I'm just being honest. Or I guess it wasn't a buzzer beater. I'm thinking of the Kentucky LSU game. We'll get to Kentucky in a second. But yeah, like, Tennessee was up 18 at halftime or something like that. Like, it was just I don't know how you like, Tennessee's not a team that gives up big leads like that. Usually with Rick Barnes, you're looking at a team that if they get up, they're really hard to beat because they play such tough defense. I will say I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure if I've said this before, but in my head, maybe I have said this, but I've just been saying that I don't know if I'm fully bought into Nate Ament. Like, yeah, I don't know. He seems up and down. I will say, recently, when they've needed him to step up, he's stepped up. So I want to retract that statement. I think Nate Ament is a great player. He's clearly, if not their best player, their second best player. Either him or Gillespie. The problem with Tennessee is those are the only two guys. They've got the Texas Tech problem, except Christian Anderson and JT Toppin are like, JT Toppin's got to be, top 5 player in the country? Like, he is that good, and Christian Anderson is up there as well. Problem, I mean, Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament are great, but are they that good? They're not as good as Texas Tech duo. And not to mention, Texas Tech has had other guys step up before. Tennessee just really doesn't have that, and that's a big problem. Like, in this game against Kentucky that Tennessee lost, Jacoby Gillespie 24 points, Nate Ament 17. The next high scorer was a guy off the bench named Dwayne Brown II, 7 points. And this has been the story all year. Like, I don't know. It's Tennessee. I really don't like Tennessee. I'm sorry. Their defense is still top 15, but 44th in offense. They're 12-6 now. I don't know how you blow that lead at home to a Kentucky team who was without Jalen Lowe for the year and without Jaden Quaintance in this game. I just don't know how you blow that. I know Denzel Aberdeen went like ridiculous. He went insane, but man, that is a really bad loss. They were up 11 points at halftime. That was a really bad loss. I'm like almost fully out on Tennessee. I really don't love them. Kentucky is I can't even say they're back, but I mean they move up 12 spots. They were about to be dropped out of the Power 40. But they went on the road against LSU and Tennessee this week. Win against LSU by 1 point on the buzzer beater, and then win by 2 against Tennessee. They had to come back late in this one. I will say those are 2 great wins to keep their season alive. If there's a chance they lose both those games and they fall to 10-8, could you imagine if Kentucky was 10-8 right now? That would be insane. They're 12-6 though. They get those 2 wins, huge wins for them. The problem with Kentucky is Jalen Lowe's now been ruled out for the year. Jaden Quaintance is still kind of iffy with him coming back from his injury. I mean, he did come back, but now he's injured again. Like, I don't really know what's going on there. Kentucky, I mean, I have to ring them out of Tennessee. They just beat Tennessee. I think they're more well-rounded than Tennessee. The problem with Kentucky is like they're so beat up right now. Their injured guys are. So the guys that are injured are so important to their team, and Denzel Aberdeen did step up, but I mean, losing Jalen Lowe especially, that really hurts. Like, he's the facilitator, and the fact that he's out for the season now, that's a really big blow for them. I think they'll be a tournament team, like, pretty safely, but those 2 wins were huge for them. Like, I can't stress that enough, but I just don't know what the real ceiling on this team is, honestly. Iowa's going to stay put where they're at 27. They played a pretty tight game on the road against Purdue, only losing by 7 on the road. Like that's pretty solid to me. And then they went out on the road against Indiana and blew them out by 17 points. Indiana's been ranked, Indiana's been ranked in the Power 40 for a lot of weeks this season. Not so much recently, but if you go back probably 4 weeks ago, they're definitely in there. Yeah, Iowa just took care of business, blew them out. Bennett Sturt's 27 points. We know what we're getting from Iowa. They're not going to get upset, I don't think. Like, they beat everyone they're supposed to beat, except for Minnesota, I guess. But they don't really beat anyone who's better than them. So, like, they're going to be, depending on their seed, they're probably going to be, in the round of 32, maybe Sweet 16 if they get a 4 seed. But, I don't know. I mean, they're 18th in KenPom. They're just too over-reliant on Bennett Sturts. Like, I don't think there's much of a ceiling with this team, but I don't think they'll get upset either. So, I guess in Ben McCollum's first year, honestly, that's not too bad. Like, I wouldn't be too upset about that. I think he's going to build something there. So, 26, Wisconsin's going to move up 7 into the number 26 spot. They took care of business this week. John Blackwell had a game winner on the road against Minnesota. That was pretty cool. And then they took care of business against Rutgers. There's not much to say with Wisconsin. We kind of know what we're getting. That Michigan win really just revitalized or rejuvenated their season. They're now on a 4-game win streak. and I said this last week after they beat Michigan and kind of got onto the scene here. There's a chance they get quite a bit of a win streak going because their last 4 games this month, the month of January, at Penn State, home against USC, home against Minnesota, and home against Ohio State. I think they're probably favored in all 4 of those games, so we'll see. But Wisconsin continues to win. They're going to continue to move up. Number 25, I'm going to go St. John's. They're back in the top 25. They're kind of like Kentucky. Like, I have to reward them. They had a huge week. Blowing out Marquette at home and then winning at Villanova, that is a huge win. I actually thought Villanova would win that game. I thought Villanova was better than St. John's. Now, St. John's 20th in KenPom, 26th in offense, 20th in defense. They're up there. If they go out and beat Seton Hall, maybe, beat them like by a good margin, which I think they might. Maybe I would have to say St. John's is the second best team in the Big East. Now, that's not saying much. Like, the Big East isn't amazing, really. But, I mean, you take that. St. John's, like, we always knew UConn and St. John's were going to be the top 2 teams. We obviously expected them to both be, like, top 5. So, obviously, it's still a disappointment. Like, I don't think St. John's is ever going to be a top 5 team this season. The roster's just not good enough to do that. But, it was a really good win at Villanova this past Saturday. And then they got a huge test, Seton Hall. Coming to town. They should win that game, though, at home. I feel like I'm just saying the same stuff about St. John's. I will say, if they get some good matchups here, if they get some good matchups in the tournament, like, they could actually upset some teams, I think. I think Rick Pitino's a good enough coach. I think if they get some good matchups, like, Zuby Ejiofor is that good of a player. And I think if their guards have somewhat of a good game, like, I think they can make some noise in the tournament. It's all going to depend on a matchup, though. Like, Zuby Ejiofor, if they play a team without very many bigs, Zuby Ejiofor could just dominate. Let's move on, though. That was a little too much talk about St. John's. Now we're going over to St. Louis, moving up 6 spots into the top 25 for the first time. 17-1, 2 A-10 teams ranked in the Power 40. The difference between George Mason and St. Louis is ranked 29th in KenPom, 40th in offense, 33rd in defense. They're one crazy play away against Stanford from being undefeated right now. They have a win over Santa Clara, who's actually looking really good. Like, Santa Clara just beat St. Mary's. And St. Louis just continues to win, man. They continue to win. Top 30 KenPom team. Like, this is a really good St. Louis team. They've got 6 guys averaging over 10 points a game. That is insane. Like, that is a crazy amount of depth. By the way, only one of them is not a guard. So they have 5 guards averaging over 10 points a game. I love that for the tournament. They are a deep team. This team may be a sleeper team. I'm telling you right now, this team, depending on the matchup, they're going to make some noise in the tournament. I promise you. St. Louis is that good. 23, I'm going to throw Louisville here. It's not looking good for them, man. They've lost 3 of their last 5 now. They lose to Virginia at home by 9 points. They did respond with a 41-point win on the road against Pitt. Pitt is just a train wreck right now. Louisville's got 1 game this week home against Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech's a really good team. Obviously, the big story with Louisville, Michael Brown Jr., the star freshman, has not played since mid-December. He's missed, I think, 8 straight games. This guy was averaging almost 17 points a game. Like, he is such a huge part for them. He's projected top 10 NBA pick. And without him, Louisville's been struggling. Ryan Conwell's been doing his best. He's been playing really good. He's almost to 20 points a game. But you obviously need him back. Hopefully he can get back soon. I think Louisville with him is a much better team. But as of right now, they're on quite a bit of a skid. Still the number 7 offense, even without Michael Brown Jr. When he was in there, they were up at, like, I think 2 in KenPom. Maybe it was 4. They were like a top 5 KenPom offense, though. And now they're falling quite a little bit behind. It's pretty unfortunate, but I don't know. I think Louisville will be fine when he comes back, but as of right now, they're going to have to keep moving down if they keep losing. Number 22 is going to be UNC. UNC is a weird one to me. Like I've been questioning UNC just because their computer numbers have been so low all year. They're 36th in KenPom right now. This is a top 40 offense, barely top 40 offense, outside of the top 50 in defense. They just went 0-2 this week. They had a West Coast road trip at Stanford and at Cal. They lost both those games. I will say I do like Caleb Wilson. I think he's a really good player. I think Henry Vizar is a really good player. Seth Trimble's been good as well when he's played, but the guard play, it's not great for UNC. You kind of need that. I will say their front court is one of the better ones in the country, but the guard play is not great. And the problem is their guards can't defend. They give up a lot of threes. The teams shoot the three very well against them because they just can't defend. Their defense is not good. I don't want to blame this all on Hubert Davis, but at a certain point, I feel like you got to. Like this is pretty crazy. How he's been on the hot seat. It feels like for a while, and I don't know when UNC opened as the preseason number 1 and then missed the tournament. I think that had to have said something, and now he's losing games again. Like I don't know. When UNC was in my top 15, I was questioning just because the KenPom numbers, they were like outside the top 30 in KenPom. I was like, what's going on here? That doesn't really add up. But I don't know. Maybe KenPom just knows more than me. I mean, clearly KenPom definitely knows more than me. But yeah, UNC is going to come in at 22, moving down 8. Can't go 0-2 there. Arkansas moving down 6. This is a bit of a drop. I still do like Arkansas. I don't know. I feel like I'm a big Arkansas fan. I feel like every week I'm telling you how good Arkansas is. I do think they're a really good team, though. They're 13-5. They play Vandy tomorrow. That is a huge game. They're actually favored at home in that one. I could see Arkansas winning that game. That's the type of game Arkansas would win. Arkansas can beat teams like that. Arkansas is ranked 23rd in KenPom, top 10 offense, 63rd in defense, though. But I'm telling you, if they get the right matchup, they can make. If they get the right draw in the tournament, they can make a deep run. This team is fun. They got a lot of guards. Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, both great. Trevin Brazil is amazing. They're deep as well. Like DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond, all these guards. They've got a lot of guards on this team. I'm telling you, if they get the right matchup, if it's not a team like Houston around them, Michigan State even, any of those slow defensive teams, I'm telling you, Arkansas can beat anyone who plays at a fast pace or offensive base. I'm telling you, Arkansas has that high of a ceiling, but they do have to drop down. They did lose to Georgia by 14 points. Georgia's going to come in ahead of them up 2. Georgia maybe would have moved even higher, but they also did lose. I still move them up because that win against Arkansas was pretty convincing. They won by 14 points, but they did lose at home to Ole Miss in overtime. That was a rough loss. Like, this could have been a great week for Georgia, and it just, that Ole Miss loss really does sting. But I mean, I will say Georgia, since entering SEC play, has lost to Ole Miss, lost to Florida, but they did beat Arkansas. They did beat Auburn, so I don't know. Georgia's kind of like up and down. So you don't really know what you're going to get. I will say Jeremiah Wilkinson, this guy is kind of like quietly under the radar, having a great season, 18 points a game. I don't hear anybody talking about this guy. He is really good. Georgia's got a big game, actually 2 pretty big games, at Missouri and at Texas, 2 road games. Honestly, I think if you split that, I'd be happy. Those are 2 really tough road games. They've got a tough 4-game stretch here to end January. At Missouri, at Texas, home against Tennessee, home against Texas A&M. I think if you're Georgia, if you win 2 out of those 4, I'd be feeling pretty good about myself. They're 30th in defense, 42nd in 30th in offense, 42nd in defense. That offensive rating has come down quite a bit. They're all the way down at 28 in KenPom now, but they're still the second fastest team in the country. They still play at a crazy pace, so I think we know what Georgia is at this point. They're kind of similar to Arkansas. Arkansas, though, like I still think Arkansas has a much higher ceiling just because their offense is so much better. And it's kind of weird that Arkansas did actually lose that game to Georgia now that I'm thinking about it, because Georgia plays exactly how Arkansas would want to play. But it was on the road. Like, Georgia is still a good team. Like, Arkansas is not going to win every single one of those games, but that is the type of game Arkansas would like to win. Clemson is going to move up to 19. Clemson Clemson continues to win, man. They got a big win against Miami. They have a huge game against NC State on Tuesday. I will say, if NC State wins that game, I'm probably going to have to rank them. They're right there. Clemson's got a top 15 defense right now. They're ranked 25th in KenPom, 19th in my rankings. They continue to win. They're 16-3, and their only losses are Georgetown, which is a pretty bad loss, all things considered, but at Alabama by 6 and against BYU by 3. And the Georgetown loss was so early on the road as well, only by 5. It's not like it got blown out. Road game, I don't know. Clemson's got 3, not, one of them is not great, but 2 pretty good losses and also some good wins as well. Clemson continues to roll. They also have a pretty easy ACC schedule. Some of these teams like Virginia, Louisville, playing tough ACC schedules, but Clemson's is not too bad, at least so far. Kansas is going to move up 5. I think Kansas has one of the highest ceilings of any team. Is that crazy? They're 13-5. This week they beat Iowa State by 21 and Baylor by 18. Allen Fieldhouse is just the greatest home field advantage ever, I guess. Darryn Peterson has played 9 games this season. In those 9 games, he's averaging 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. This guy, when he plays, is absolutely amazing. It's just the problem is he can't stay on the court. I mean, he's playing. He's played the past few games, I guess. I mean, he's been playing on a minutes restriction. I thought he was about to drop 50 on Baylor. He had 26 points in 23 minutes, only missed 2 shots, both of those being threes. He was 2 for 4 from 3, 11 of 13 from the field with 26 points in 23 minutes, guys. This guy, there's a reason he's the projected number 1 pick. He's been the projected number 1 pick, even with him going down to injury, even with him only playing half of the games this season. And in most of those games, he's been on a minutes restriction. Even with Cameron Boozer being the National Player of the Year, with A.J. Debinsa scoring 20-plus points almost every game, Darryn Peterson still is the number 1 pick, and you're seeing why. He is got to be the best player in the country. Now, I still think Cameron Boozer's got to be National Player of the Year because Darryn Peterson hasn't played enough, but I'm telling you, Kansas, with him on the court, is a different team, and not to mention, they've got a top 15 defense in KenPom right now. Oh, and also, they've played the second hardest schedule in the country, only behind Alabama, and they're 13-5. I think Kansas is in a really good spot. If Darryn Peterson stays healthy, which is a big if he does, this team could legitimately go on a Final Four run. I think Kansas is that good. I really like Kansas. Alabama's going to move up 1. We know what Alabama is. They could for sure win the SEC. They could also, this is a really volatile team. I think 13-5 though. They can beat anyone. They can also lose to a lot of teams. They actually almost lost to Oklahoma on Saturday on the road, but they pulled it out. They got to win. LeBaron Filon's playing amazing. Aiden Holloway, Latrell Wrightsell. This is one of the best backcourts in the country. They're second in offense right now. One of the fastest teams as well. This is just how Alabama is every year. Pretty typical Alabama team. We've seen these type of Alabama teams, though, make the Final Four. So is that out of the question? Definitely not. They can definitely get there. Number 16 is going to be Virginia. Virginia looks so good, man. Every week I'm liking Virginia more and more. This was one of my sleeper teams coming into the season. I was really high on them, and they continue to prove me right, man. They're up 3 spots. This week was a huge week for them. I was saying if they split this, you count this as a win. They won both these games on the road against Louisville by 9 and on the road against SMU by 4. Saturday they got a home game against UNC. If they can win that game, you have to say. As of right now, Virginia's got to be the second best team in the ACC, but if Virginia beats UNC on Saturday at home, you have to say Virginia's the second best team in the ACC and could potentially compete with Duke for being the best. I'm so serious. This team is 16-2, 15th in offense, 17th in defense, 14th overall in KenPom. That is so well-rounded, almost top 15 in offense and defense. The computer numbers love them. They haven't played an insanely tough schedule, but I don't know. Recently, they played NC State on the road, won that game. They played Louisville on the road, won that game. They played SMU on the road, won that game. They beat Texas on the road by 20 points. They beat Dayton. Dayton's only lost 3 or 4 games. Their only losses are to Butler and Virginia Tech in triple overtime on the road. I don't know, man. I'm fully bought into this Virginia team. They defend so well. Ryan Odom's got him going. Like, this defense was pretty low in KenPom to start the year, but as of now, 17th. Like, their defensive rating has gone way up. Malik Thomas is playing a whole lot better. DeRitter, 16 points a game. Like, this is a deep team. They got a lot of guys who can score. Jakari White's really good. Virginia is good, man. I really wanted to put them higher. I couldn't get ahead of these 15 teams. Number 15 is going to be Vanderbilt for me. They moved down 6. Vandy was undefeated last week. Now they got 2 losses. They went 0-2 this week, folks. Vandy lost on the road against Texas. I was looking at that game. I was kind of thinking that could be a trap game. With their home game against Florida looming on Saturday, they had to go on the road to play Texas, a team coming off a win over Alabama. And Texas kind of blew them out. They really handled them. And then Saturday against Florida, they lose by 4 points. I will say Florida is like peaking right now. Actually, I can't even say that. I think we'll talk about Florida, but Florida's playing really good right now. So losing that game is not the end of the world. It's really the Texas loss that concerns me. We'll see if they can just kind of silence that. If they go on the road to Arkansas and win that game, I'm really not too worried about Vandy anyways, but especially if they can win on the road against Arkansas, that would be pretty good. Because if they drop 3 in a row, it's just not great. They're still 12th in KenPom, though, 4th in offense, 26th in defense. They've played a pretty tough schedule as well. Like, I think Vandy is legit. I don't think you can say Vandy is like fraudulent, even after losing 2 games. I don't know. They still have great wins, obviously. That Arkansas game tomorrow, though, is going to be huge. I'm pretty sure that's got to be the game of the night for Tuesday. Yeah, Vanderbilt. They're looking. They're going to be just fine. I fully believe that. I think their guard play is good enough. I think their offense is good enough. Top 5 offense in KenPom. Like, I think they're going to be just fine. I'm really not that worried. Florida, we got to talk about Florida, man. They continue to win. Florida is now 13-5, and at this point, you have to say Florida is the best team in the SEC. If you say anyone else is, you're just like wrong at this point. Florida, since entering SEC play, has now beaten Georgia, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt on the road. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. The only team that hasn't really had a common opponent, I guess, is Arkansas. But, I mean, Florida beat Georgia. Georgia just beat Arkansas. So, by that logic, like, Florida's got to be the best team in the SEC. They're my highest ranked team in the SEC. They're the highest ranked team in KenPom in the SEC. This team is 9th in KenPom, 11th in offense, 11th in defense, almost top 10 in both, along with the 3rd hardest schedule in the country. Like, Florida is legit, guys. I'm sorry. And this is with their team still shooting under 30% from 3. If they can just get that to, like, Division I average, which is like 34, 35, if they can get it up like 5%, Florida is like a legitimate national championship contender. And they were like close to being. I'm pretty sure they were out of my top 25 like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Florida is fully back. Thomas Houck, these guys, Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland, are starting to put it together, folks. Florida's top 3 scorers in terms of points per game are still both of their forwards and their center, but Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee are starting to get more consistently good games. They're starting to shoot a little better. I know both of them are still shooting 26% and 21% from 3 on the season, which is horrible. Florida as a team is shooting 28%. I'm telling you, if they can get that up to like even like 31, 32, even if they can get it up to 30 even, Florida is still winning these games even without the threes. Like, imagine if they start falling. I'm telling you, Florida, if they can get hot, they're getting hot right now, and we're seeing what they're doing. They've won 4 in a row, 3 against 3 against ranked teams. I know Tennessee's not ranked anymore, but yeah, Florida continues to roll. 2 pretty big home games for them. LSU and Auburn, both pretty good teams. Both teams, one of them is still ranked for me. Both teams have been ranked at certain points. Florida should probably win both those games. Florida tomorrow is a 15.5-point favorite over 13 and 5 LSU. That just goes to show how good they're playing right now. Florida's going to continue to move up, man. They are looking good. They've got to be the favorite in the SEC right now. They just beat Vandy, who was the team that I was saying was the best. Florida's got to be the best right now. BYU's going to drop down 2. BYU's kind of been a top 10 team all year. I dropped them out of there because I put Vandy and Nebraska ahead of them. But they did just lose at Texas Tech. Now, the final score doesn't really show the full story of that game. It says Texas Tech wins 84-71. BYU was in that game for a while. I think Texas Tech went on like a 30-6 run, 30-8 run, something along those lines to end that game. Absolutely ridiculous what Texas Tech. I thought BYU was pulling away. They got up like 9, 10, 11 points in the second half. I thought they were pulling away. I thought BYU was about to go in there and really win that. But Texas Tech, no, they hold on. JT Toppin, Christian Anderson, those two are absolutely ridiculous. This was like the battle of the big three. We had AJ DeBanza, Rob Wright, and Richie Saunders, the best big three in the country, in my opinion, play probably the second best big three. I mean, it's more of a big T for Texas Tech, but I will say Lawan Watts, in the big games, he steps it up. He had 20 points in this one. Christian Anderson had 22, and JT Toppin had 27. The problem with Texas Tech, well, we'll talk about Texas Tech. We're talking about BYU. BYU, I think they're just fine. Losing this game on the road, it is tough. They're still 12th in offense, 19th in defense, top 20 in offense and defense, 15th overall in KenPom. AJ DeBanza did have his worst game. I think this win is more about Texas Tech, honestly, than BYU. I will say, though, with BYU, I mean, if AJ DeBanza just has a normal, like, 20-plus point game, BYU could potentially have won that game. But he was 6 for 17. Like, this was his worst game as a college basketball player, and I think that says a little something. Not really about BYU, but you know, he's still capable of having these kind of. I know he's been so good, but he, you know, now that we've seen it, I think it's like he is capable of having a game like this. You know, but it does have to happen against the right team, and Texas Tech was the right team that night. Texas Tech. I feel like I'm always so high on Texas Tech. I always pick Texas Tech to go far in the tournament. I don't know if I can do that this year. Like, I don't think this team can win a natty. Can they go to the Final Four, though? For sure. They're 14-4 right now, 21st overall in KenPom, so a little bit lower, but 18th in offense, 34th in defense. If their defense was, like, legit, I think I would. I mean, I would consider picking Texas Tech, but 34th, that's honestly not great. They're typically higher in defense. I will say they played a really tough schedule, and if I've said this time and time again, if Lawan Watts can do this consistently, Texas Tech could legitimately be, you know, one of the last 4 teams. Maybe they already can. Now I will say he's getting more and more, you know, he's getting closer to that consistent like third option, and he's got to be their third option at this point, but. He's getting consistently, like he's getting up there in points per game. He's up to 13. But this team really reminds me of the Crab 5 Maryland. I think they might be better. Is that crazy? I think this Texas Tech team might be better than last year's Maryland. Now, Maryland's starting 5 was so good. But look at Texas Tech. They had 0 bench points against BYU and won by 13 against BYU. It's one of the best teams in the country, guys. 0 bench points. I think they had less than 10 minutes off the bench. Don't quote me on that. I need to check that for sure. Let's see. Texas Tech minutes off the bench against BYU. Just you know, got to make sure I get this right for you guys. Texas Tech against BYU. Here we go. They had a total of 11 minutes off the bench. 3 players came in off the bench. So essentially, they just beat BYU by 13 points with 5 players. Their bench guys did not score a single point. They had 2 rebounds, their bench guys, and 1 foul. And their bench guys only took 2 shots. Pretty insane stuff what Texas Tech is doing. Again, I don't think you can win a national championship doing this, but I will say Texas Tech. You know, the KenPom numbers don't love their defense, but the fact that they limited AJ DeBanza to 13 points, they made him play his worst game of the season so far. Texas Tech can do that against team's best player, and with JT Toppin and Christian Anderson playing like this, if Lawan Watts can fully be that third option, which I think he might already be, but like consistently going into March, this Texas Tech team reminds me a lot of Maryland, and remind you guys, I picked Maryland to beat Florida who obviously won the Natty last year. But I picked Maryland to go to the Elite Eight because I'm stupid. I guess that's why. But it's besides the case. I think Texas Tech is a great team. Illinois moves up to number 11, just outside the top 10. They continue to win. They continue to look great. Their KenPom numbers continue to look great. They're 15-3. This is really quietly one of the best teams in the country. I just don't hear much about them. Maybe we will on Saturday. They got to go on the road to Purdue. That might be the game of the week. That is a huge game in the Big Ten. Can't wait for that one. We'll see what Illinois is able to do, but they continue to take care of business. Michigan State also taking care of business in the Big Ten. They are just dominating right now. They haven't played a good team in a while. In all honesty, they haven't played a good team since really January 2nd when they went on the road to Nebraska. But the past 4 games, they won by 29 against USC, 10 against Northwestern, 21 against Indiana, and 17 against Washington. Like I said, they're continuing to dominate. They got the number 1 defense now in KenPom. They have overtaken Michigan for that number 1 defense. That is pretty good. Now, 54th in offense, don't love that, but Jeremy Fears continues to look great as the point guard. He's averaging almost 9 assists now. He's one of the best point guards. Maybe him and Braden Smith are probably the 2 best facilitators in the country, unless I'm forgetting someone. He gets a lot of assists. That guy's great at running their offense. Michigan State also doesn't really play anyone until Michigan, January 30th. They're probably going to enter that game against Michigan at 19-2. Michigan could very well enter that game at 19-1. So that's going to be a huge game. Probably going to be a top 10 game. Can't wait for that huge rivalry game as well. And Michigan State gets it at home. So that is insane. We'll see what happens there. Iowa State drops down 7, losing 2 games in a row. This doesn't typically happen. I guess. Yeah, we'll get to that. This hasn't happened this season. Iowa State was 16-0. I was not expecting a 2-loss week from them. I thought there was a chance they could lose to Kansas. I didn't expect them to get blown out. That was pretty shocking to me. The real shocker, though, was they went on the road to Cincinnati coming off the Kansas loss and lost again. I did not expect them to lose that game. That was a little concerning for me. They're still 8th in KenPom, 13th in offense, 8th in defense. They still got Joshua Jefferson, I think is one of the best players in the country. I still love Momcilovic. He's shooting the lights out, 54% from 3. I know that's come down a little bit. He was up at 58 2 weeks ago. And Joshua Jefferson as well has come down shooting-wise. So they're not shooting as well as they were, but Tamin Lipsey, Killian Torrey, I love him. Blake Buchanan. They haven't been scoring as well recently as I would like them to. Against Kansas, nobody really showed up. Their highest scorer was Joshua Jefferson with 12 points. They couldn't really score in this game, and we've seen Iowa State go cold. Besides Momcilovic, he's pretty consistently pretty good. Against Cincinnati, Momcilovic had 34 points, 8 for 14 from 3. Joshua Jefferson had 16, but the next highest scorer was Tamin Lipsey with 7. We've seen their guys go cold a little bit. Now, Momcilovic and Jefferson are pretty consistently good scorers, but we've seen guys like Tamin Lipsey, which, I'm not going to, he is a veteran player. He'll be able to score in the tournament. I'm not too worried. The other thing, we always see this with Iowa State. They always start out non-conference play great. Then they have a little skid in January. This has happened the past few years. And then they kind of just figure it out at the end and come into the tournament as a 2 or 3 seed and win a few games. We see this every year with Iowa State, so I'm really not concerned. But they do have to move down 7. They dropped 2 games this week. That was really unexpected. Number 8 is going to be Gonzaga, back into the top 8. I think I dropped them out last week because Nebraska and Vandy I wanted to put ahead. But they're back. They're 19-1. This is the 6th-ranked team in KenPom, top 10 in offense and defense. They continue to win, continue to dominate in the West Coast Conference, so they're going to continue to move up. Nebraska is undefeated. I really thought about just putting Nebraska at 2, but I just can't. I'm sorry. If I had to pick the top 6 teams, if they were playing Nebraska, I'd probably pick all 6 of them to beat Nebraska, in all honesty. But they are 18-0. I really did think about putting Nebraska, though, up there. But these top 6 teams are all ahead of them in KenPom. They've all had a tougher schedule than them. I guess besides Houston. But, I don't know. Nebraska ranks 13th in KenPom. It's not like they're bad. And they're 18-0. They're one of 3 teams. They're one of 3 teams to be undefeated at this point. That is a accomplishment in itself, and they're a great team. Don't get me wrong. Like, this could potentially be a 2 seed in March. If you told me Nebraska was going to be a 2 seed, I would have called you crazy. I will say, man, yeah, they've done a great job. No hate to Nebraska, but I got to put them at 7. And if you want to put them at 2, go for it. I don't blame you at all. These top 7 are really so close to me. Houston is number 6. I've been saying that, ever since UConn was like ranked 5th for me. Do you remember that long stretch when there was like the clear top 4 when it was, I think it was Arizona, Michigan, Iowa State, and I think Duke was those 4 undefeated, and that was the top 4 for like 3 weeks. It felt like, and it slowly kind of just trickled down, and now it's only Arizona at the top. But in those 5 weeks when UConn was number 5, I was saying how UConn, if I had to pick any of those 5 teams, any of the top 5, I might still say UConn's the best of those 5. I'm starting to get that feeling with Houston a little bit. Like, if you told me Houston was the best team in the country still, I don't know if I could say they're not. Like, Houston might still be the best team in the country. I had them preseason ranked number 1. They took a loss, and a lot of the other teams have looked so good, but Houston is dominating right now in the Big 12 in that good of a conference. They picked up a win over Texas Tech. They play Texas Tech again on the road this time on Saturday. If they can go out and win that game again, that would be huge for them. They're 5th in KenPom right now, 17-1. I think you could argue Houston's the best team in the country right now. I really, I really can. I don't know if I could disagree. I might still say UConn because I've been saying that for a long time. I don't know. Duke, pretty dominant this past week. They had the West Coast trip along with UNC, but they took care of business. They beat Cal by 15. They beat Stanford by 30. UNC lost to both those teams. Duke is pretty clearly the best team in the ACC right now. Now, Virginia's getting close for me, but Duke's still got to be the best. They're 9th in offense, 6th in defense, 3rd overall in KenPom. They continue to dominate. Cameron Boozer is just doing ridiculous things, and I feel like it's not getting talked about enough. Purdue continues to win. They picked up 2 good wins against Iowa and USC on the road. That was a pretty good week for them. They got a huge game home on Saturday against Illinois. That is number 4 in KenPom versus number 7 in KenPom. That's number 4 versus number 11 in the AP poll and my rankings as well. That should be a pretty high-scoring game. That's the number 1 offense versus the number 3 offense. I can't wait for that game. Braden Smith continues to roll, do his thing. TKR, Fletcher Lawyer, Oscar Clough's been amazing this season. Purdue's a great team. We've been knowing this. Yeah, they're 17-1. Michigan coming in at 3 for me. Nice little bounce back week for them. They had 2 road games on the West Coast as well. Washington and Oregon won both those games by 10 points. Nice little bounce back game there, or 2 games, I guess, for them after the Wisconsin loss. They have a tough close to this month. 2 big games on Tuesday, so tomorrow and Friday for them. 2 home games, Indiana and Ohio State. I think they probably should win both those games. They definitely should beat Indiana. They should probably beat Ohio State as well. And then the next week, they got home against Nebraska and at Michigan State. So they have a brutal 4-game stretch here to end January. I wouldn't be surprised if they win all 4. I think if you win 3 of those 4, that's a success. Michigan's still the number 1 ranked KenPom team, 5th in offense, 2nd in defense. They're coming in at 3 for me. UConn's going to come in at 2 for me, moving up 1. A lot of these teams just moving up 1 because Iowa State dropped so far. But yeah, like I said when I was talking about Houston, UConn I've been saying is the best team in the country. And I kind of like when they're, when the best team in the country isn't the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, because I don't love picking the number 1 overall seed because I feel like they don't usually win. So I was hoping UConn would be like the 4th 1 seed so I could just pick them, but now they're all the way up to number 2 in the rankings, and they may very well finish as number 1, but number 1 is just clearly Arizona. Like, I feel like Arizona's not getting talked about enough as number 1. I've had them number 1 pretty much all season. I did that like a week or 2 ago where I flipped and put Michigan to number 1, but then they just dropped right back down because Michigan lost to Wisconsin. Arizona's just like by far and away the number 1 team. They're 2nd in KenPom, 6th in offense, 3rd in defense. Jane Bradley is a certified clutch player. Koa Pete is amazing. He's a freshman. Braden Burries has stepped it up for them. They've got 5 guys averaging Four guys averaging over 11. One of them is 10.7, so almost five guys averaging over 11. This is a deep team. They defend well. They rebound well. They pretty much do everything well. They have the resume to back it up as well. They have a win over UConn. Win over Florida, win over UCLA, win over Auburn, Alabama, San Diego State. I feel like the reason they're not getting talked about is they haven't played the toughest. They haven't played the toughest Big 12 schedule. This week they don't play anyone really either. Cincinnati and West Virginia both at home. They should win that. But then the following week they go on the road to BYU. So that's going to be their first true test in a while. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they lose that game. But you look at the data, everything supports Arizona being number one. And numbers-wise, this team is, numbers-wise, probably looking like the best, most complete team right now. They play a very NBA-style offense. They got Tommy Lloyd at coach. They remind me a lot of the one-seed Arizona team when they had Benedict Mathurin and all them. So this is a great team. I think Arizona can definitely win it all, and I feel like they're not getting talked about as much or enough as they should for being like the consensus number one AP team. But that's going to do it for the Week 12 College Basketball Power 40 rankings. I know this was a little bit later than normal, but I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. That is going to do it, though. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below what you agree, what you disagree about my rankings. Subscribe if you're new. We do college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA almost every Thursday. So, once again, thank you so much for watching. But I will see you guys tomorrow with our national championship game reaction. Indiana against Miami. We'll see you guys tomorrow with that one.